Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, Rumble, Rumble is down to the point where it wouldn't let me make a stream. No, it's not letting me stream to Rumble, even using StreamYard. So it wouldn't let me do a stream to Rumble. It wouldn't let me do a stream to Rumble using StreamYard. So we're on YouTube right now and only ScrewTube. So we're waiting for the Oval Office address from the former Vice President Joseph Robinette Biden. Jason, give me you can hear me real quick. If you can hear me real quick. Yeah, Rumble's completely fucked. Like I could not start a stream. I cannot stream through StreamYard on Rumble. Like none of it. Like it's yeah, you can hear me. Cool. Appreciate it. So major problems over at Rumble. So we'll just be on YouTube tonight. I'm back on StreamYard. Gross. Um, so I said that the Doomsday plane was up probably for a reason. I don't think this is the entirety of the reason, but it makes some sense why it was up. I think ultimately you have the weakness of the commander in chief. As of 4 minutes ago, fighter jets scrambled after NORAD detects and intercepts 2 Russian and 2 Chinese strategic bombers in Alaska Air Defense Zone in Alaska. According to reports, on July 24th, NORAD detected, tracked, and intercepted 2 Russian Tu-95 bombers and 2 PRC H-6 strategic bombers operating in the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone. NORAD fighter jets from both the United States and Canada were dispatched to conduct an intercept. According to military officials, the Russian and PRC aircraft remained within international airspace and did not enter American and/or Canadian sovereign airspace. This activity by Russia and PRC aircraft in the Alaska ADIZ. So that's they're testing us a little bit. That's what that tells me. Is that the Russian and the Chinese? If you missed the earlier show with the Netanyahu address to the United Nations, we saw the E-4B quote doomsday plane. It landed. We watched it land. It landed at Andrews Joint Base or Joint Andrews Base. Later, after the stream finished up, I saw Kamala Harris arrive at the same base along with the Secretary of Defense. The E-4B is a plane that we would not see after it was operational. So nothing ever took off from that airfield that was trackable on radar. So not surprising. Also, over in the lovely Washington, D.C. area, there are people. Let's say people. There are people that are essentially trying to burn the city down. So took down some American flags, tried to I believe they lit one on fire. And doing some real terrible things over in that general vicinity. Um so if this is on time, I would assume that it would be pre-taped again because he doesn't have a great record. The YouTube channel is already up. So this is just a short video of what's happening in Washington, D.C. Apparently, they brought down the American flags and replaced them with Palestinian flags. I 100% agree with that one. Yeah. I always recommend buying emergency supplies. I have a bunch here, a bunch in my bug out location. And even if the world doesn't end and we don't end up in nuclear war, it's still helpful. It's still beneficial to have it. Good on you. Getting emergency supplies, it's never too late. You never have enough. So I always advocate for emergency supplies. I think it's incredibly beneficial to have on. Of course, always ammunition is great to have. Water or the ability to filter water is great to have. And just general supplies, antibiotics, medications like ibuprofen, that kind of stuff. Not a doctor, but all those things are not bad to have on hand. So, um, that's my 30-second PSA. I don't know a good company to do it. I'm not gonna like directly endorse any of them, but there's a lot of good ones out there. Well, Tony, hang on. I do know a good company. Shit. Friend of the show. There he is. Sorry, I was an ass on that one. I was like, I don't know a good company. I do know a good company. There's Fast Group Foods, great food, great emergency food, freeze dried food, that kind of stuff. I know. I apologize for not thinking about it quicker. I was looking for a clip and I was like, oh shit, I do know somebody. So this is another one that's working at DC. This is them burning the flag. That's that guy right there. That's that guy. And he has good food. He makes it all himself. Friend of the show, good guy. Highly suggest. And I linked him right there. So that's what's going on in our nation's capital right now. So burn that shit, burn that shit. So the world is on fire. So it's probably not a bad idea to go for that. So wait, was there protesting? Yes, there was a little bit of protesting, Stingy. A little bit. So of course they didn't bring in the National Guard. Probably no one got arrested. You know the drill. I mean, they're libtards. Of course. Here's an interesting video. Because I think we still have. I'm watching. If he comes on, we'll know he's there. So here's an interesting video. I don't know the authenticity of the video. Apparently he makes some freeze-dried Skittles that are fantastic. But I don't know. He's there. He makes everything. And it's good. So apparently they bust in the protesters. So totally organic, like Kamala Harris's candidacy. But there's the Capitol building. So apparently they were busing in Palestinian protesters. Oh, here's Joe.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. We came together as Americans. We got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. Today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first Black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, so you can disagree with me, but that sounded an awful lot like the turbofans that are on the 748. I don't know, Brian. Like I said, they stopped tracking it after. So as soon as it's airborne on mission, they stop providing tracking. So we would never know. And I obviously can't see the airport. So when it's not on mission, obviously we could see it. But if the president was on the aircraft, then absolutely it would be off radar. And you put that with the fact that we had an incursion from Russia and China jointly. So Russia and China, for those who missed the beginning of the show, both sent over 2 bombers that had an incursion in the Alaskan airspace, not our sovereign airspace, but the defensive airspace of Alaska. So yeah, the plane, so it went off radar, and then as soon as it becomes operational, they will take it off radar because it's obviously a security risk due to the nature of the plane. So it's not crazy to think that we can't see it. Now, hey, no worries. Enjoy. He doesn't have a bust of Dr. King. I was in the dumpster when he was elected. Damn. Yeah. I don't. I always wear headphones to obviously hear. I was playing with some of my audio on the other end, and it sounded like the GE turbofan engines to me. So it was supposed to be an hour. Holy hell! Like there's no way that was an hour. I don't know how long it was. It was about 10 minutes, 11 minutes, about 11 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 minutes, somewhere in there. That was nowhere near an hour. I don't know. So I agree with Jason that when we started this address, it really sounded like he didn't have the job anymore, like he was stepping down. Like he wasn't gonna remain in office, and then as it got more to it, it was what he's gonna do for the last 6 months. The most interesting part of that was the Supreme Court reform. So what the hell is that supposed to mean? Like, is he going to appoint new members to the Supreme Court? Like, I don't know. I don't know. So we might see new appointments to the Supreme Court, and that would, of course, take confirmation from the Senate, which is, I guess, doable. We'll probably see some pretty radical bills coming out, and that was my concern with switching over to Harris. If he was to step down and switch to Harris, is that we would see some radical new legislation coming out. But it seems like regardless of who's in office, they're going to push some radical legislation based on what he was saying. I would not be shocked to see a so-called assault weapons ban because they've been pretty hard on that. Sounds like he's going to add members to the Supreme Court. Um, and yeah, anything else he said, I don't really know because I couldn't really understand it. It was not live. I can guarantee that it wasn't live. He was on time. It didn't seem live. So, correct. 10 minutes. Yeah, 10, 11 minutes. It wasn't in the buffer zone. It was in our defensive aerospace. It just did not cross over into. So it was in restricted airspace. It just did not cross onto the land, essentially. So he's going exactly. He's going to stack the court on the way out. We'll probably realistically we'll probably see 3 or 4 justices. I couldn't have taken an hour. I couldn't have. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the Go Safe Act. That's a nightmare. Damn. So we're gonna see some radical left-wing ideology and policies and trying to push some things together. I hope we have a strong enough delegation in the House of Representatives, but I don't trust that even anymore. So I hope that there's some pushback because it seems like it could get really messy here, very, very quickly, and could get very, very blue very fast. And I think that's my primary concern right now is you have a lame duck, and no matter how much they try and push it down your throat, Kamala Harris is not winning in 2024. And they know that. So it's going to be an interesting ride. I said it's going to get interesting. That doesn't make up for what happened earlier today, though. Like there was some thought process that they 25th them, and he was stepping down. That was one of my. I mean, that would have justified the E4 and all the people getting on the E4. Transfer of power, continuity of government, blah blah blah. That didn't happen, so I am as lost as ever, and I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and see why the hell our administration is on the doomsday aircraft, and I assume they still are. But like you guys said, it was a pre-record, so he didn't necessarily have to be up there. It could have been, it could have certainly been pre-recorded a day, 2, 3 days ago. Like it wouldn't have mattered really what. But yeah, it is a weird time to be an American. It is a weird time to be around. And I, for one, would like to know 2 things. What the hell is going on and who is running our country? And I don't know that we're going to find the answers to either one of those anytime soon. And it makes me incredibly uncomfortable that we had an incursion from not just a Russian aircraft, not just a Chinese aircraft, but 2 Russian bombers, 2 Chinese bombers that came over together. America is wounded. And if there was ever a time to strike it and bring it down, right now is that time. We are weak. We have no leadership, and we're letting people run wild and destroy this country. So as I said, it's going to be real interesting until November. It's been real interesting up to this point, and it just seems to continue going. I will try and stay on as much of it as I can, but it's kind of driving me nuts too because there's so much going on. No, that is not live at all. Well, it may not have been. I don't know. The fans was odd to me. So like I said, I manipulated the audio and on my side just to see what it would sound like, and I mean it certainly sounded like turbofans on a GE engine. Which is what's on those aircraft. So General Electric, I think they're called G Works or G something. GE something. That's what it sounded like to me. But who knows? Who knows? And again, the problem isn't that we're sitting here, quote, talking about conspiracies. It's that, again, we can in good faith make an argument for these wildly ludicrous thoughts and be justified in doing so because we have some kind of proof. Like, that is the crazy part. That is the most ridiculous. Because we don't know who's running the show. We don't know who's pulling the strings. We don't know what danger we're in. We don't know anything. We have potentially the worst administration in the history of this country. Frustrating. But that is going to be it for me, boys and girls. Again, if you haven't yet, go check out Fast Group Foods. I put it in the link there. Get yourself some emergency stuff. If you're into that thing, because I feel like it's gonna get bumpy, real bumpy. But until next time, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. If anything crazy happens, I'll be back. And until next time, hope everyone has a good night. Take care, everybody.